many times have you said yes today? Yes to a meeting, yes to a phone call, yes to a favor, yes to another project, yes to another opportunity, yes to something you didn't really want to do, but you said yes anyway. Maybe because you didn't want to disappoint someone. Maybe because you were afraid of missing an opportunity. Maybe because saying no felt uncomfortable. Or maybe you simply didn't know how to say no. Here's the problem. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Yes to another meeting might mean no to focus work. Yes to someone else's emergency might mean no to your own priorities. Yes to something that isn't aligned with your vision might mean no to the thing that actually matters most. Saying no isn't selfish. Sometimes saying no is leadership. I'm Robin, and this is More Than Business. Today, we're talking about one of the most powerful and most difficult words in business and life. No. Welcome back to More Than Business. Let's start with a simple question. What are you saying yes to that you should be saying no to? That's not always an easy question because most of us were taught to think of yes as positive. Yes means opportunity. Yes means I'm being helpful. I'm being cooperative. I'm being a team player. And those things can be true. But here's what we don't talk about enough. Every yes has a cost. Your time has a cost. Your energy has a cost. Your attention has a cost. And your focus has a cost. You only have so many hours in a day. You only have so much mental energy. And you can't be everywhere all the time doing everything. You can't say yes to every person who wants your time and still have enough of yourself left for your things that matter to you. That's not how it works. And that's one of the hardest lessons to learn as an entrepreneur leader. At some point, you have to stop asking, what can I fit in? And start asking, what deserves my time? That's a very different question. Let's imagine someone asks you to take on a new project. You say yes. Seems harmless, right? Maybe it takes 2 hours, but then there's follow-up, the emails, the preparation, the meetings, the mental space, the things you now have to remember, the people you have to coordinate with. Suddenly, that 2-hour commitment isn't 2 hours. And that's the hidden cost of saying yes. It's not just the time on the calendar. It's the mental bandwidth that comes with it. And here's another hidden cost. When you say yes to too many things, you start doing everything at 70% instead of doing the most important things at 100%. You become busy, but not necessarily productive. You become involved, but not necessarily impactful. Busy does not equal productive. Available doesn't always mean effective, and more does not always mean better. One of the biggest traps for successful people is believing that because they can do something, they should do it. You can do a lot of things, but that doesn't mean you should. And sometimes your next level of growth doesn't require you to add something. It requires you to remove something. So why is saying no so difficult? For many of us, it's fear. Fear of disappointing people, fear of being judged, fear that someone will think that we're difficult, Maybe it's the fear that you're going to lose that opportunity. Someone else is going to get that business. Fear that if I don't help, no one will help me later. And sometimes that's your ego talking. We like being needed. We like being the person everyone calls. We like being the one who can solve the problem. There's nothing wrong with being helpful, but there's a difference between being helpful and being overextended. And leaders need to understand that difference. Because if you say yes to everything, people may eventually stop seeing you as dependable and start seeing you as unavailable because you're stretched too thin. You start to miss deadlines. You may start to stop returning phone calls. You can't give people your best. And ironically, the desire to please everyone can eventually disappoint everyone. That's why boundaries matter. A boundary isn't a wall. A boundary is clarity. It's saying, this is what I can commit to. This is what I can't. This is what matters most to me. And that clarity actually makes relationships stronger because people know where they stand with you. It's no coincidence that in my Instagram bio, it says boundary queen. I'm very good at boundaries and it's best for everyone. Now let's get practical because knowing that you need to say no is one thing. Actually saying it, that's another story. So let's talk about how to say no professionally. First, you don't have to over-explain. Sometimes we say no, and then we follow up with a 5-paragraph explanation about why. You don't need to defend every decision. A respectful, clear answer is enough. For example, thank you for thinking of me. I'm not able to take this on right now. That's a complete sentence. Or, I appreciate the opportunity, but it doesn't align with my priorities right now. That's clear. Or, I can't commit to doing this well, so I'd rather decline than over-promise. That's actually a sign of professionalism, okay? You appreciate, clarify, decline, and then redirect when that's appropriate. And here's another one. Thank you for asking. I can't take this on, but I may know someone who would be a great fit. Now you're saying no to the opportunity without saying no to the relationship. That's powerful. And you can go back to our previous episode about cultivating relationships. No doesn't have to mean never. Sometimes it just means not now. It may mean not this way, not this project, not at this price, not with this timeline, not with these conditions. That's an important distinction. Let's go deeper because saying no isn't just about managing your calendar. It's about protecting your vision. Every business leader has a vision. Maybe if you've written it down, maybe it's in your business plan, maybe it's simply an idea you've carried in your head for years. But a vision doesn't become reality just because you have one. It requires focus, and focus requires elimination. You cannot pursue every direction simultaneously. At some point, you have to choose. And choosing one thing means saying no to something else, okay? Think about successful companies. They aren't successful because they're doing everything. They're successful because they know what they do and what they don't do. Clarity creates focus. Focus creates momentum. Momentum creates results. As a leader, you have to protect the mission. And sometimes that means being the person who says, that's a great idea, but it's not our priority. That's hard because great ideas, they're everywhere. But your resources aren't. You may have a limited capacity for your team. Your budget has limits. Your time has limits. So you have to ask, does this move us closer to where we're going? If the answer is no, you may need to say no. Here's something I wish more entrepreneurs talked about. Not every opportunity is your opportunity. Just because someone offers you something doesn't mean you have to accept it. Just because you could make money from something doesn't mean you should. And just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean it's right for your business. And sometimes the hardest opportunities to turn down are the ones that look really good. They have money attached to them. There may be some prestige attached to it. There's a big name attached to it, but it doesn't quite fit your direction. So before you say yes to the next opportunity, ask yourself these 5 questions. This is my 5-question test. Does this align with my vision? Does this move me closer toward my goals? Do I have the capacity to do it well? What will I have to give up to do it? Would I still want this if I didn't feel pressure to say yes? That last question is important because sometimes we're not saying yes because we want the opportunity. We're saying yes because we're uncomfortable saying no. Those are completely different things. If you're a leader, this gets even more important because your decisions don't just affect you, they affect your entire team. And every time you say yes to something, your team may have to execute it. Think about that. You get an idea on Tuesday. Your team gets another assignment on Wednesday, then another priority on a Friday. Then you wonder, why is everyone so overwhelmed? Sometimes leadership means saying no to your own ideas. That's a tough one, but it's true. You have to ask, is this actually important? Does this need to happen now? Who is going to do it? What are we going to stop doing if we start doing this? That last question can change the way a business operates because every new priority should force you to reconsider an old priority. Otherwise, you're just adding and adding and adding until the team is exhausted. Great leaders don't just create priorities, they create clarity around what is not priority. Your team needs to know what they can ignore, what they don't have to respond to, what can wait, what isn't part of the mission, that's not limiting to your team, that's freeing them to focus on what's most important to the business. And this conversation isn't just about business. It's really about life. And that's what this whole More Than Business series is about. Because if you're always saying yes at work, you may eventually have nothing left when you get home. Your family gets the exhausted version of you. Your friends get the distracted version of you. And you get whatever is left over. That's not balance. That's depletion. And protecting your time isn't about becoming unavailable. It's about deciding what you're available for. Maybe you don't answer emails after a certain time of night. Maybe you protect one day of the week for strategic work. Block time to think. Maybe you stop saying yes to every invitation. Maybe you take your vacation. And yes, you are allowed to take your vacation. The business will survive. Your inbox will still be there, I promise. And sometimes the most productive thing you can do is step away long enough to remember why you're doing all of this in the first place. So here's the challenge. I want you to identify 3 things. I'm going to call this the no challenge. 1, something you're doing out of obligation. 2, something that's taking time without producing meaningful value. And 3, something you've agreed to that just no longer aligns with your goals. Now ask yourself, can I say no? Maybe you need to have a conversation. Maybe you need to delegate, one of my favorite things to do. Maybe it's time for some renegotiation. Maybe you need to cancel something. Maybe you simply need to stop volunteering for it. Put your hand down. And here's the part I want you to remember. You don't need everyone to understand your no. Hello. You need to understand your why. Because when your priorities are clear, your decisions become clearer. And when your decisions become clearer, your life, it just becomes lighter. Here's the message I want you to take with you today. Your time is not unlimited. Your energy is not unlimited. Your attention is not unlimited. So don't give them away casually. Every yes is a commitment. Every yes takes something. And sometimes the most important thing you can say isn't yes, it's no. No to the distraction, no to the wrong opportunity, no to the unnecessary meeting, no to the expectation that you have to be everything to everyone. And sometimes no to the version of yourself that is afraid to disappoint people. Because when you say no to what doesn't matter, you create room for what does. Room for your vision, room for your team, room for your family, your health, your growth, room for the work you're actually called to do. So the next time you feel pressured to say yes, take a breath, pause, and ask yourself, is this a yes that moves me forward or a yes that's taken me away from what matters? You don't have to say yes just because you can. And you don't have to feel guilty for protecting what matters. Sometimes, no is the most powerful yes you can give your future. I'm Robin, and this is More Than Business. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs permission to say no. Subscribe, like, and come back for the next episode. Until then, protect your time, protect your energy, protect your vision, and remember, it's always more than business.